Hey, and welcome back to the Fully Booked Photographer podcast, even. And on this episode, I have Jonathan, Brad, and Janine with me, and we're here talking. This is the fourth session of this series on the 9 keys to create a successful photography business. And today we're talking about something that is often forgotten. Yes, often forgotten. That is the product delivery system. Janine, tell us about what you see in the market about product delivery system. Like often there seems to be this opinion among some photographers that the longer it takes, the better. It has to be worth more if it takes a long time.
Janine, while you're answering that, can you just tell our listeners what a product delivery system is? Because many who are listening may not know what it is.
Sure, Jonathan and Ronan, I can do both. So a product delivery system would be we've been talking up until now in the series that we've been doing, the elements that it takes to get your client to the point of making an order. Well, once they've ordered, they've come in for their session, they've come in to order their portraits. Now you got to deliver the portraits. So the culmination isn't in the sale. That's an amazing part of the experience, but you still have to deliver that product to the client. And so the product delivery system is how that happens. And so, yeah, Ronan, you're right. There is a lot of people in our industry who feel that it's okay for this to take a really long period of time because they're artists. And in order to create art, it takes a long time. And that must translate to quality in the eyes of their client. But you told us something interesting, which it's funny because I've been noticing this for the past year or two, and we've been adjusting our product delivery based upon it. But you said something to me, I think it was last week, that the markets have shifted as far as what people view as the most important key element in making a buying decision. And what you said, it was speed, right? Like the fastness. Tell us what you said, because I thought that was very interesting. And then I'll tell you how I think that really plays into what we do.
You put me on the spot now, Janine. But yes.
Time to turn the tables back around on you.
Oh, I knew it would happen eventually. Yes, so it was what's most important to people? Free or fast? And the answer is fast. Fast wins every time. Fast is the only thing that beats free in people's minds. They want to have their success quickly. So like we adopt this into everything we do at the Fully Booked Photography. It's about how can we think about this every single day. How can we fast track our photography members' success, right? How can we fast track that? Because that's far more important than anything else. We all want stuff fast. And that applies to when we invest in photography too, right?
It does. And so, it's interesting in our business, in my studio, and, I photograph children. So children change very quickly. And we have our clients coming back multiple times in a year. So if I had my clients, and this is very deliberate. It was a very deliberate choice on my part on how I had to really think about how long I wanted to take to deliver a product, because I want my clients back in 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. And if it takes me 12 weeks to deliver, if it takes me longer to deliver, then by the time I have them come back, what's the point? Now we're delivering portraits to them after they've already had another session, and that just doesn't make any sense. And so to hold on to this, it can't be good art unless it takes a while to create. I don't know. I think it's a lot of hogwash. Now, obviously, there are certain elements and certain products that people create. Like if you're doing paintings, that can take the legit amount of time to create if you're painting things by hand. But for the most part, you need to, when you're creating this product delivery, you have to tell your clients how long it's going to take. And then you have to over promise, under promise, over deliver. So if we tell our clients it's going to take 4 weeks, we deliver in 3. If we want to tell our clients 3 weeks, then we better deliver in 2. So we always try to deliver faster. And so in order to make that happen, and I think Brad's going to talk about this a little bit, you have to choose your vendors wisely. You have to choose reliable vendors that you can have products delivered to you in the right amount of time. And your internal processes have to be nailed down. I have a full-time retoucher digital artist on staff. And so he does all of our artwork. Now, right now, he's behind because we hit, March is a very busy month for us with our baby duck sessions. And so I have a secondary service I send retouching out to when he gets behind, because it's not okay for my clients to wait for more than 3 weeks for their portraits. And I know they want it fast. In fact, and even though we go through and we set expectations, and we can talk about this now or we can talk about this later on the podcast, Ronan, but setting expectations with your clients, even though we set them and we're very clear and we set them up front on the phone call, I'll give you a great example. And this can happen for birthdays. It can happen for Christmas. When we're making that booking, we ask them, when do they need their portraits by? Because if they need them in time for a birthday party and you're photographing 3 days before the birthday party, that's not fast enough, right? So what are your clients' expectations? When do they need their portraits by? Do they need them for a gift? Do they need them for an event? Do they need them for a specific holiday? And then you have to back up your timeline, knowing how long it's going to take you to retouch the portraits, to create the products, and to have them delivered, allowing time that something might go wrong. And so you can't miss those dates. And a big one for us is Christmas. And we learned a long time ago, Christmas, delivery in time for Christmas is not Christmas Eve, because Christmas can mean something different for everybody. I could have family in Ireland and I have to ship overseas, which means I have to ship by December 1st for it to get there by Christmas. I could be leaving to go on vacation to visit family on December 10th, and I need my portraits by December 8th to get, to bring them with me to see family. So if you're not asking the right questions and setting the expectations to your clients on when they want their products delivered, then you're going to miss those expectations. And now you could have done everything right up until now. You could have had the excitement sequence nailed. You could have had an incredible portrait session where the images were amazing. The family had an amazing time and an amazing experience with you. You could have had an exceptional sales appointment where they spent well above your average. If you don't deliver it when they expected it to be delivered and in a timely fashion, and when you promised it, you've just destroyed everything you've done. And the last thing they're going to remember is that you didn't deliver what you promised when you promised it.
So, Janine, you mentioned about your duck portraits. So, if you don't deliver quickly, will some of your clients not have a quackerly good Easter, or is that a thing?
Yes, most of our clients want their baby duck portraits in time for Easter, so they can post them, their social media versions of their images. They want to be able to post on Easter and show it their kids, or the week of Easter. And it's a big springtime thing. And plus they want their prints to be able to decorate their house with through the months of March and April. And so for my clients, it's a big deal to have their baby duck portraits ready in time to add to their spring collection. So when they bring out all their spring portraits, they're able to add this year's to it in time for Easter. So yeah, it's a critical time. That's why I photograph them so early.
So Brad, surely it is not a concern for you doing boudoir, right? Because it doesn't matter if I don't have my boudoir portraits in time for Easter.
Yeah, none of our clients want their orders back really quickly, so it's easy for us boudoir photographers because clients just don't care, that they're happy to wait 6 weeks. I'm being sarcastic. No, it's exactly the same. Customers' expectations around order collection. We always, no matter how fast you are, clients always want it faster, because they're emotionally invested in their artwork and what it means for them individually and as a family, that they want their artwork as soon as. And just like what Janine said previously, that it's the last thing they remember is how quick you get their artwork to them. And then what their emotions are when they first see the artwork that they've ordered. Other products are available, not just artwork, albums and folio boxes as well. Just, we're saying artwork a lot, but just to get that 3XM plug in there.
Those amazing folio boxes from our friends in Ireland.
Yeah, it was funny about 3XM. Well, what they say, a lot of our clients in the US say that they get their 3XM folio boxes quicker than they buy something from a US lab. So that's interesting. But getting back to this idea of overpromise, underdeliver, that's a key thing, isn't it? So if I'm working out my times on things, right? When you're reliant on someone else to be part of the process, do you build in a little bit of time then to allow for that?
Ron,
We
you
do.
meant under promise, over deliver, right?
Yeah, he said it backwards too. It's easy to say backwards. Hopefully all of our listeners understand what we're saying.
See, Janine, that it's coming across the internet, and that disease of making things go backwards, it's just sort of floating across there. I'm blaming Janine anyway. It's Janine's fault.
It's my fault. I said it wrong the first time. But I knew as I was saying it, I knew I was saying it wrong. But yes, we do build in that time for whatever the case may be. I mean, 3XM is amazing and we never have anything wrong from them. However, other vendors, we might have something come in damaged. You know, we order a frame, it comes in, UPS decided to do a dance on the box. And we open up the frame and, you know, it could have been FedEx or anybody else. Sorry, I'm not dissing on UPS, but the delivery man could have damaged the box and now we have to reorder the frame. It could be anything. The lab could have printed something and it came in too magenta and we don't want to deliver it to the client. It could have a scratch on it. I mean, you guys are like photographers listening to this podcast. They know all the things that can go wrong between the time you press order and the time you receive it. And so you have to build in that time into your process so that if something goes wrong, you can fix it. But even that being said, if we receive something and it's wrong, we call our client right away. Because I have a lot of little things in the studio that everybody knows that I'm adamant about and very regimented about. And one of them is if the client calls us first, we have really effed up. We never want the client to call us asking where something is. We always want to be the person to make the phone call. And you know what? If something is late and we make that phone call, the clients are usually okay. And most people are pretty understanding. And so if I call you, I'm like, hey, Ronan, I know that we promised that your order will be ready next week. And it's still likely that that will happen. However, we were really planning on getting that delivered to you today. And when it came in from our lab yesterday, blah, 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 it didn't meet our, whatever the case may be, right? It didn't meet our expectations in order to deliver to you. So we've reordered it. We just wanted to give you a heads up so that you knew. If something's going to be late, we say the same thing. If we know that it's if we're going to miss something like a party because of something that went wrong from a vendor, then we bend over backwards to try and fix it temporarily and then make it fully right after the event. So let's say, for example, someone has a birthday party this Saturday and their frame portrait comes in and the frame is damaged and there's nothing, or God forbid something happens and the frame doesn't arrive, you know, even though we ordered it in plenty of time. We will call the client and be like, all right, your frame didn't come in the way it needs to come in. We have a 16 by 20 frame that we can put your portrait in temporarily so you have it in time for your birthday party. And then after the party, bring it back to us. We'll reframe it in the one that's going to permanently hang in your room, right? And so there's ways, we never let the client get disappointed, ever. We always go above and beyond to try and fix any of these little situations. And my team knows they have the power to make those on the fly, even if they can't get in touch with me to make them. Because I want them to be able to satisfy the client and meet those expectations. Again, is the last point in that process. And so we have to deliver, and we have to deliver a quality product in the time frame that we promised, and it has to be fast. Because, like Brad said, nothing is ever fast enough. We will have, and we can never communicate it fast enough. So we can have a sales session on Wednesday, and we tell them we will have your proofs in 4 days. That night, they're emailing, when do we get our proofs? Do we get them today? It doesn't matter if we email it, and if we say it, if we email it, whatever. They just want things fast. They're excited, and I can't blame them because they've loved the experience, and they love the memories we create, and they just want them, and they want them fast. And so that's our job, is to try and meet those expectations. But again, the communication is key, and creating the communication between us and our clients, and never letting them wait, never letting them be surprised, and always staying on top of something if it goes wrong.
And Jonathan, I know Brad and Jean have been really kind to 3XM, right? But we're like any company, we pick up balls of things sometimes too. But the key thing here is, and you'll know from your past experience, your first job working in operations and then client happiness for 3XM, when things go wrong, it's about how you deal with it, right? How you deal with it for a client is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make your client the hero and kind of, sometimes suck it up a bit and, like Janine, do go over and above what you'd normally do to try and not make them feel disappointed. So whatever you need to do to make them feel okay or happy, right?
So I think what you're saying is it's always possible. It's how you deal with a negative, right? You can turn a negative to a positive if you deal with it in the right way. And that's what Janine has talked to. That's what you've talked to. So Brad, what about you? Like, where does this play into the boudoir world? Like, do you see the excitement of clients wane over time, or have you any experience of where it took longer than maybe it should have, and the effect that has on the client and their experience, or is that even a thing?
Oh yeah, I've got, I suppose, two things to talk about product delivery and managing that expectation and experience for clients. So importantly, it's when you're selecting suppliers for products, and just like when you're selecting a partner to marry. I'm getting married very soon, so this analogy just popped into my head. You want to be aligned on values. Values are the most important thing to be aligned on. It's something myself, my current partner, soon to be wife, have spoken about many times. What we want to be like, what's our married life going to be, how we want to raise children. We're good because our values are aligned. And just like when you're selecting a supplier for your photographic business, you have to make sure that your values are aligned with them. Because if they're not and they're misplaced, then what could happen is what happened to my own studio, where it's difficult. And then because that supplier doesn't share your values, they might not be that keen to help when there is a problem, or not that fast to respond, or their customer service might not be the friendliest. So when you are presented with a problem, instead of that problem getting solved in a quick manner and that negative being turned into a quick positive, the negative just prolongs, it elongates out so that the negative gets worse. I've been in that position in my own studio. A couple of years ago with a supplier we were using where our wait times was weeks. We were promising our clients 3 to 4 weeks delivery. We could normally do it in 2 to 3. Sometimes we were waiting 6 weeks for artwork, and then it would come and it would be broken or it'd be damaged, and we'd be waiting another 6 weeks again to get that piece of artwork back. And then as a business owner, we had to make the decisions of what we're going to do to make that right for that client. And sometimes you have to be creative. Sometimes it's easy because they might have ordered an album and then some wall art, or folio box and some wall art, so you can get the folio box out to them quicker, and that might make them happy while they're waiting for the artwork. Or in some cases, it's a refund to the client because they've been waiting 8 weeks for a piece of artwork that we promised them in 3. And ultimately, it's out of our control, but at the same time isn't, because we have to take responsibility. Because it's all well and good just blaming a supplier, but ultimately, that client doesn't know. We're that touch point with that client. We're the ones who can ultimately make those decisions and make them happy. So in business, you have to make those difficult decisions about who you're going to get to supply your studio. And you have to make sure that whoever you choose are aligned with you and your values. And ultimately, that most important value is that the client is the hero.
So let's say we've made the right decisions, right? And we've picked the right suppliers who share our values, and we're happy to be married to them. And we know when something goes wrong, they're going to deal with it. Talk to me, Janine, about the product delivery piece itself, because it's something that we're asked about a lot, and in 3XM, that we haven't done, which is drop shipping, right? What's your opinion on drop shipping? When is it relevant? And when is it not, and when is it relevant that if we take it to the next step where I literally go and I display the wall art on the walls of my client's home versus not doing that? And when is it relevant? You see all these different approaches to it. You see some people who just leave it in reception and they come along and the receptionist hands them their stuff, and you've other people who put all the wall art on easels and the folio boxes on display, and they're all wrapped in wrapping paper and bows, and there's an unwrapping. Like, where does all this all fit together? Because to be honest, I'm confused.
So, Ronan, I think first you have to tell the photographer they have to look at who their ideal client avatar is. And this really comes down to who are you servicing and who is your client and what their needs are. And so, this is actually something we're relooking at this year, to be honest with you. We're relooking at our product delivery because we're attracting clients from further and further away, mind-bogglingly enough, right? So now we're having clients that are driving 45 minutes to an hour, which until this past year was unheard of for us. Everybody was pretty much local. So now asking them to come back again a third time to pick up their order is really difficult, especially my client avatar is a busy mom, right? My client avatar has kids in baseball and dance and gymnastics, and they're working until 5 themselves, and then they have to schlep their kids here and there, and their weekends are spent at the ballpark and things like that. So it's really hard for them. And we're finding it that our orders are sitting here a long time because people don't have the time to come pick them up. So we've started looking at different options on how to deliver to our clients so that they're not being enjoyed if they're sitting in my studio. They need to be in the client's home to be enjoyed. And so I think first you have to look at your ideal client and what you're selling. If you are, and what your price point is, because you can't do something if it doesn't fit in your price point. If you're charging if your sale average is $5, $10, $15,000, yeah, you might. And your ideal client, you're installing large pieces of wall art for them, going to their home to make that delivery for them. Absolutely. That would be something I would be looking at because it fits with that ideal client. If you're selling that same artwork for $500, you can't afford to go to their home and install it. You'd be losing money. So you need to really look at where you're priced at, what your client experience and your client journey is at, and who your ideal client is. For me, even having people come pick up, I don't usually have everything out because most times I have moms call and say, we're in the car, the baby's asleep. Can you bring the order out to our car? Or I don't want to get my kids out of the car to have them tear up your studio, or it's going to be too hard to get them out of the car and then get back them in the car. And, and I'll tell you, if you start looking at what your ideal client is doing for shopping, this answers a lot of questions. Do you know, I haven't, Target is one of my go-to shopping stores. I can't tell you the last time I stepped foot in Target because now, you know how I order? I order on my app and I have it ready to pick up in 2 hours. And I go and I pull into the little parking spot. I click on the app that I'm here. Some nice gentleman or lady brings the order out and puts it in my trunk. I never go in the store anymore. It's just put into my trunk for me. And to me, that is the ultimate level of customer service. I'm like, this is awesome. I don't have to get out of my car. I don't have to unbuckle my kids from their car seat. I don't have to get them to get their shoes back on. And so that's my client, right? My client has young kids. And so doing all that is hard. So we're actually relooking at this process. And do you know that people will spend money on DoorDash? They'll get a Starbucks coffee that costs $4 delivered to their house and it costs them $20 because they don't want to have to go out and get it. So, things are changing and what people's expectations of what customer service and convenience over their own time, people are starting to value time a lot differently now, especially with how the major retailers are servicing clients. And we have to keep up with that. So do I drop ship? I have. And I have had orders from my lab albums directly drop shipped to my clients if I can't get it to them in time for what they need. And this is the thing about having vendors you trust. If I didn't trust my vendors, I wouldn't be able to do that because I'd want to see that product first and make sure it was good. But I work with vendors I trust. And while I would prefer it to come to the studio first so I can have eyes on it, and plus I like to photo our products before we deliver them so we can put them on social media. But that's my journey, not my client's journey. If my client needs it sent to their home specifically for something and they don't have time to come get it, we will most definitely drop ship. We drop ship to grandparents quite frequently. If grandparents are out of the state and the parents want to send it to the grandparent as a gift, we will drop ship directly to a grandparent's house. So to me, this is all about understanding your client, what their needs are, what their pain points are, and servicing who they are and going in line with the values of your studio and what experience you're creating for your studio. So yeah, this is something we're always relooking at, how we can be more convenient for our clients, how we can make them happier, and what do they truly want? What will truly make them happy? Something we have gone to is anything 8x10 and smaller, we are just shipping now. So when that order is ready, we're shipping it to their home so they don't have to come back.
Janine, you just said something that piqued my interest there. You said when their order is ready. So when their order is ready, do you just kind of call them and say, hey, Jane, your stuff's ready. Come get it.
That's exactly how we do it. How did you know? And it's funny that you say that. Maybe I had said this to you at one point, and that's why you're bringing this up. But I did catch one of my girls one time saying that, hey, Ronan, your stuff is ready. Do you want to come pick it up? I almost hit the roof. Actually, I almost went and pulled the phone cord out and would rather have called the client and be like, oh, I'm sorry, we got disconnected. And to let that conversation continue. Because no, this is not stuff. Our order pickup. So we have a couple of things. We have your order is ready email. And of course, for us, everything's about the magic. So all the wording in that email is about the magic, and your portraits are super excited to come home with you. And like, it's fun, and it's fun. It fits us. And our phone call is the same way. So we have a little script, and it's a loose script because I'm not a big scripty person, but it's a loose script on what has to be said, the tone of voice that has to be said, and the words to use. Your album, like being very specific, your portraits, your albums, your artwork, what it is specifically that is ready to pick up. We call the clients by name. We will use the child's name. We had so much fun celebrating Jonathan's first birthday, and now his album is ready to go home to be celebrated with your family. Yes. And so we use words like that. We're very happy. We're very excited. And then we will ask them, when is a good time for you to come pick that up, so we can make sure everything is ready and that we have someone who is here to pay attention with you. And if it's raining, if your baby's asleep, if anything like that, when you get here, just give us a shout and we'll happily bring it out to the car for you so you don't have to come inside. And so just things like that. So yeah, we go through that whole excitement in our voices and in our emails, even at this stage in the journey for our clients.
Before Ronan asks this question, just quickly, you must prefer Coldplay to the script, do you?
That took a second. I was like, Coldplay. He's going off band here. Do you even know who Coldplay is, Jonathan? Every time I talk about a band, you never know who they are.
I'm young.
That was bad, Jonathan.
That was pretty bad.
That was bad, and you should feel bad. I feel bad for the listeners. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. We're better than this.
So, Brad, tell us about your product delivery system and how you get the excitement going, and how does the product delivery system play a part in encouraging the client to come back again?
It does. It's interesting listening to Jean talk about how her product delivery system works for her business, because if my avatar, if my client was coming in, was a working mum with young kids, that would be exactly how I would do it. But how my current delivery system works is completely different. That's because the people, my ideal client is women 40 plus. They see value in coming to collect their album and artwork because we get that presented for them. So we do a reveal. Like we talked about earlier on about wrapping artwork up, putting little bows on it, getting it ready to be presented. So we do that downstairs in our design consultation space, where the room that they were in when they designed their artwork. So that is the room we now take them back into, where we do the reveal of their artwork and make a big deal about it. And just like what Janine said, we're taking photographs for social media because it's wonderful social proof to show that your clients had an amazing time, and that, look at the artwork they purchased and how, and more importantly, how that artwork is making them feel, and getting their genuine reaction to it. That's a big part of our experience now, is that celebration of them having come to have the experience and then having achieved doing it. Because boudoir is a big thing for a lot of women. It's not an easy thing. There's quite a lot of fear involved. So it is an achievement that they've had this experience and that they now have this artwork or folio box or album to be able to celebrate with it. So we want to celebrate with them. And we want that excitement to carry forward. And then that excitement that they carry forward leads into them telling their friends about us. And then when we post out a thank you card and I can't remember the word for it, it's just completely slipped my mind. I'm terrible at this today. A referral letter and a gift certificate for them and for a friend to come and use back in the studio, that's more than likely going to get used. Yeah, I get asked all the time about, hey, Brad, how come my referral system doesn't work? And the only answer to that is, well, is your experience good enough? Because you don't just want a good experience, you need an exceptional one, because people will only recommend you when they've had an exceptional experience. So, and that's the entire process. And that product delivery is a big part of it, because you need to get that order to your client as quickly as possible.
Janine, I can't remember whether it was this podcast or a previous podcast where you mentioned The Power of the Moment, that book. And they actually talk about this, right? In terms of Disney, that Disney recognized that in the beginning is really vital and somewhere in the middle is vital. and the end is vital. They're the 3 moments that people remember most, right? And if you just have a slapdash product delivery system where it's as if you don't care because you have the money already or whatever that is, that you're missing that opportunity, that moment, which is, as Brad has just said, is going to drive the referral, is that surprise and delight and happiness at that moment when when their products are finally delivered to them, if that's what you're doing, or the collection of that product and celebration of that product. It's a key moment in the journey.
It is a key moment. And that's what I was saying before. You can nail everything else. And if you mess this one up, it's the last memory they're going to have of their experience. So it's a critical one. And it's something that, again, we're always relooking at because things change. What worked 10 years ago doesn't work today. What worked a year ago might not necessarily work today. And so we're always revisiting this as our client avatar tweaks a little bit, as times change, as situations change. We're always looking at how we can improve this as our product line changes or what people buy changes. How we deliver digital images is different today than it was last year. And so how we deliver our albums is different today than it was last year. How we ship is different. Everything's a little bit different. And it's not that for us, this isn't a destination. How we're doing it today isn't the final word on how we're going to do it in a year from now. So this is something we're always looking at improving and changing the way that we do things and how we can make it better for our clients, how we can provide a better experience for our clients, how we can satisfy their needs, and how we can get them back again faster.
And I know restaurants are really on top of this. Restaurants are really key on it's your last meal. The last meal that you serve to a client is the one that they remember. So you have to make it great all the time. Even with Jonathan, he's the bread connoisseur, right? So when he goes into a restaurant, he's judging the quality of the restaurant on the bread they serve him and how they serve it and the types of bread and everything else that goes with it.
It's the next podcast we have coming your way. Jonathan versus the bread.
Litan. Oompa.
But it's true, Jonathan, isn't it? Like you love your bread and it's a key part of what you love to eat. So if a restaurant doesn't treat the bread the way you respect bread and love bread, they're out the door, right? You ain't coming back.
God, I am a bit of an exceptional circumstance because I am a very fussy eater. But yes, bread is a staple in my diet. So if the restaurant doesn't have bread, I probably won't go there. But yeah, where are you going with this?
Well, the point I'm making is because Janine has talked about you need to know your client avatar. And a lot of people think, I only need to know my client avatar for my marketing, right? But Janine and Brad have talked about, they use the word many times over, the importance of understanding your client avatar through the whole experience, right? So the point I'm making is if you understand your client avatar and you understand that you have someone in the restaurant who loves bread, just do everything right. Just make the presumption that every part of your experience, right, is going to appeal to some part of your client avatar, and what they want, because every client will be slightly different, even though they're the same client avatar.
Well, I'm gonna jump in on here with that too, Ronan. And I just beg everyone listening to please keep their client top of mind during this process, because let's say it is your process to have everything on display and for your clients to come in and be wowed, but they call you and it's raining outside and their child's asleep in the car and you're like, but no, you have to come in. We have to do your unveiling. It's part of the process. We want you to see everything. That's what you want the process to be. At that moment in time, it might not be what your client wants the process to be. And you have to be able to understand those nuances and satisfy your client's needs at that moment. We have 50 umbrellas here. It rains a lot in Florida. And so sometimes, we might have to change how we deliver a product based upon weather, so you have to be flexible, but photographers, I just feel like sometimes even I do it. We get stuck in our head of how something has to be and forget that how our client experiences it is what's the most critical. Make your client happy, provide that exceptional experience for your client, and deliver your product to your client how they need it delivered to them. And that's going to be the culmination of your product delivery. Although the thank you card, like Brad said, and what you sent afterwards, are still a little bit more in the process. But this piece right here, it has to be fast, it has to be right, it has to be of high quality, and it has to be delivered in a way that your clients want to receive it.
Yeah, and I know you were laughing at the idea of the bread, but like I've eaten a lot with Jonathan, being my son, right, in restaurants and stuff like that. And often, you see the look of surprise on the waiters or waitresses' faces, about this bread thing. But we were at a restaurant recently in Florida, and I know Jonathan was jet lagged at the time, so he probably doesn't remember it. But we were in this steak restaurant, right? And Jonathan asked for his bread, and you could see the waitress, she came back more than once saying, "Would you like some more bread, sir?" And it was one of the first times I'd seen that. So for me, that was somebody who was tuned into her clients in the restaurant and was tuned in enough to recognize, what the client wanted and was happy to come back with and offer bread more than once. So for me, that's all we need to do, right? Just tune into our client, see what they need, and just over deliver for them. It's simple.
Janine, what you just said then was beautiful and was real quotable. That was, that's a soundbite right there. Then Ronan brought it back to bread.
So on that note, I think we've baked this podcast episode enough. So I think we should move on. It's well and truly in the oven. It's hot. It's delivered. And it's time to go. So on that note, bye to you all from this one. And hopefully we'll see you or hear you. Or you'll see or hear us in the next one. Bye for now.
See you guys later.
Everybody.